Hello everyone, this is Goosebumps Godzilla, and today I'm going to be talking about how the Lord High Executioner that you see in A Night in Terror Tower isn't the real Lord High Executioner, but is actually a clay figure. So, viewer beware, you're in for a scare, and let's get started with this theory. Okay, so before I go any further, there are going to be spoilers for the 27th Goosebumps book, A Night in Terror Tower. Basically, the entire book is going to be spoiled for the most part. Not like intricate details or anything like that, but you know, the whole plot for the book is going to be spoiled. So if you haven't read this book, then there are going to be some major spoilers, and also there's going to be spoilers for the 12th Give Yourself Goosebumps book, and that is Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum. There's not going to be huge major spoilers that's going to totally ruin the whole book or anything like that. It's just going to be short little spoilers. Well, I wouldn't actually say it's spoilers because I myself haven't read this book. I'm hoping to read this book in the near future, but I haven't read this book myself. It's really just stating a fact about the book, like this character appeared in the book. That's really it. So nothing major spoilers about this book, nothing about the plot or anything like that. But anyway, guys, after spending a minute and 30 seconds pretty much talking about what spoilers will be in which book, let's get started finally with this theory. Okay, so in the Night in Terror Tower, we are introduced to our main protagonist, Sue and Eddie. And basically, they're in modern-day England, and they're out by themselves touring the entire city of London. So, and they're in their tour group, of course. I mean, their parents obviously would not leave them by themselves to go to London, hopefully, but they're with this tour group, and so they go to the Tower of London, which is basically a tower where they, torture people. And so they go there, and there's all this really fun stuff. This is a really good book, by the way. Really some cool stuff happens, some really cool imagery and stuff like that. But anyway, one thing leads to another. They're lost inside the Tower of Terror. And so they're trying to find their way out when they encounter this guy with a wide-brimmed black hat who wants them to come with him or something like that. But the main protagonist's brother soon figure out he's evil, so they try to run away from him. But he chases them, and that's the majority of the book, just a whole constant chasing inside Terror Tower and in London. It's really quite fun. But anyway, eventually he finds them, and he basically takes them back in time using these 3 white stones. So they're taken to the present day, where they are basically imprisoned, and there they meet this wizard guy named Margaret who tells them what's actually going on. So it turns out that Eddie and Sue are basically the next heir to the British throne, but their uncle named Robert or something like that wants them dead. So he hired the Grand High Executioner, which is the guy with the wide-brimmed hat, to capture them and exterminate them. So the Lord High Executioner executes his plan perfectly, and so they're locked up. But Margaret tells them that they can get the white stones, they can go back to the future, and, no more bad things will happen. They won't be continuously chased by the Grand High Executioner. So they are about to be killed when they get the 3 white stones, and they go back to the present day. And that's pretty much the end of the book. And there is a sequel, Return to Terror Tower, but Return to Terror Tower doesn't really have any key things for my theory, so not really going to be talking about that one that much. But, that's pretty much the plot of the book. But basically my theory is that the Grand High Executioner that you see in the present day that's chasing them all around Terror Tower, and, throughout London, stuff like that, wasn't actually the real Grand High Executioner. But that was a clay figure, the one that you see, though, in the present, not in the present, but the medieval times when they're taken back in time. That one's the real Grand High Executioner, but the one you see in that scene is not the Grand High Executioner, but is rather something else. Here's my evidence to prove, though, that that is actually a clay figure. And the first thing is the design changes. So one of the weirdest things about the Grand High Executioner is that in the book, he is described to have a wide-brimmed hat, and the episode really fits description perfectly, but everything else changes the design. Take a look at A Night in Terror Tower cover art. This guy is supposed to be skinny, he's supposed to have a wide-brimmed hat, and this guy is incredibly different from that in Night in Terror Tower cover art, but that is supposed to be the Lord High Executioner. Also, you can see in the Goosebumps Horror Town game, you can also see it in the Return to Terror Tower cover art, you can see it in Goosebumps the film. All these other Goosebumps things show the Grand High Executioner as some guy in a hood with an axe, and who is, bigger and stuff like that than the one that we actually see in the book. So, seems like that is the real Grand High Executioner, possibly. And the one that we see in the book, the wide-brimmed hat and stuff like that, isn't. Because, it's pretty much from the book with Goosebumps the film. All the other stuff, is not striking evidence, but in Goosebumps the film, Grand High Executioner is pulled straight from the book, and he looks like that, while in the actual book itself, he looks different. So that's what makes me think that that's actually not the real Grand High Executioner, and he's really wax. And we can also see this in Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum. In this book, we meet basically a wax figure of the Grand High Executioner. So, they didn't really go into detail on his design or what he looks like, but he is a wax figure. The Grand High Executioner is a wax figure that comes to life. Which is basically what my theory is, that the wax figure of the Grand High Executioner from inside A Night in Terror Tower chased them throughout the city. And so, also, there's another fact that the tour guide, who most likely has been to Terror Tower many times, didn't notice that there was an extra, clay figure there. I don't really remember all that well if that was actually in the book, or maybe it was just the episode, but I'm pretty sure that he was recognized as a wax figure that they saw earlier. Again, that could be just the episode, because I've seen the episode a lot more than I've actually seen the book, because, Night in Terror Tower is actually the second Goosebumps book that I actually read, and I haven't read that one in a long time. So maybe my memory on it's a little rusty, but I'm pretty sure he was recognized as a clay figure. And so if he just got there, how come the tourist guide didn't notice that? That's not a really strong piece of evidence, because maybe it'll be like, oh yeah, they got a new thing. So it's not major, but it's still a fact. But also, another thing is that in the TV episode as well, it's not, again, huge piece of evidence, since TV show is not, always similar to the book, but Sue was attacked by basically a living clay figure. That one is pretty much guaranteed to be clay, unless the Grand High Executioner just left him behind, because why not? He just left him behind. That'd be kind of funny if that was actually real, but it's pretty likely that that's actually a clay figure. So how come that clay figure came to life? And what stops the one from, A Night in Terror Tower, the Grand High Executioner with a wide-brimmed hat, from being that one? Again, not a strong piece of evidence, but it's still likely. Also, another piece of evidence is from A Night in Terror Tower Goosebumps board game-ish. It's not a board game. It's the Night in Terror Tower Goosebumps game. You can see this. I don't own the game. I haven't played the game, but if you take a look at the Grand High Executioner, he kind of looks like, he could possibly be made of wax. Again, I haven't played the game, so maybe he's a ghost or something, but he looks really skinny, and he's sort of behaving not like human material would. So, that is another piece of strong evidence. And also, there's evidence from this one scene in A Night in Terror Tower. In this scene, the Grand High Executioner is chasing the main protagonist's brother in the sewer, when he is suddenly attacked by a whole bunch of rats, like an army of rats. And basically they attacked him and did whatever, and then they let him free and stuff like that. But here's the thing. So these rats, I guess, are described to be very hungry, you could say, since they live in the sewer and all that stuff. So they should be wanting to eat something or someone, but rats really are not described ever to actually eat people. I don't think ever been a case when rats actually try to gnaw people off or attack people in droves and stuff like that. I don't think there's actually recorded evidence of that, but then again, it's Goosebumps. But rats are recorded to have eaten wax. They barely attack people. They just like one little bite that will make you bleed or something like that. But that's the end of it. But they have been known to attack wax. Not attack wax, but, eat wax. So, it's kind of weird. Again, I haven't read the book in a long time. I really should have reread this before I made this video, but I just came up with this theory today, so forgive me about that. But it's kind of strange that they didn't go after Eddie and Sue. They are human, right? So he should have gone after them. So, how come they didn't go after them? Again, haven't read the book in a long time. Maybe there is something else about that I'm missing. But the fact that I attacked him, and he could possibly be wax, and not Eddie and Sue, just adds on, to the other pieces of evidence. But you might also think, then, how did he get the magic stones? How come he did appear back in time and all that stuff? So, here's what I think. So, the Grand High Executioner was probably killed by King Robert after he failed to capture the children. Then again, maybe King Robert let him live, since in Return to Terror Tower, he is still alive in that book, and they did get away in, actually, One Night in Terror Tower, so maybe it's different, but, he's pretty much following the king's orders, and probably was punished for not being able to get the children. So, I think, as a clay figure, he knows his history, or something like that. You might think that's kind of weird that a clay figure knows what his owner or person like that was like back then. But, there is evidence to prove that part about it in Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum in the, Grand High Executioner part, because he did try to kill you, the reader, with an axe. So, he could possibly take on the same persona as his original person that he was modeled after. And so, again, they don't know what the Grand High Executioner looked like back then, so they modeled him after the Grand High Executioner, but it wasn't exactly right, explaining why you see what we see in the Goosebumps original cover art. Also, further evidence to this theory, I forgot to mention, is that how come he got the stones. Mordred probably wouldn't give him the stones or teach him how to work them, so the fact that he learned how to work the stones is kind of weird, just saying. But, there is the fact that he chased him throughout the city, but he did take on the same persona as his original clay figure in Welcome to the Wicked Wax Museum, so why not this clay figure in A Night in Terror Tower? But, anyway, guys, that's the end of my theory. I really wanted to go a bit more in depth on this, but, YouTube will only allow me to do videos over 15 minutes long, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below what you think, and that's the end of my video.